Okay, we are here.
Okay,
We can't hear you. I don't know.
good evening, everyone.
Yes, good
Good
evening.
evening, everyone. Okay, in the last class, the issue I had was when I use false, it doesn't run anything. It's only when I use true. So I found out that the issue was because I ran the if loop before the for loop for the function. So when I saw
Hmm.
your own, So when I saw your own online on the group, I brought it back. So it actually ran the for loop. Then if it is false, it will still run, but it will not do the screen reset. So that's what the issue I had, and that's what I corrected.
Okay. So this particular code we sent, what did it do exactly what you thought it would do?
Yes, it did exactly what I thought it would do. If when I put true, it will screen reset. It will after each square, it will reset the screen. But when I put false, it still runs, but it doesn't reset the screen. So all the squares are shown.
Okay, good, fantastic, well done, well done. That's a nice one. Okay, Mr. Gabriel said he's still finding issues trying to understand the twist around Boolean values. That's why we're in this class tonight. I will explain. Fantastic. I know uh, for sure that a Boolean is something that will actually, that's why I tried to bring in that concept in the last class so that I'll be able to understand how it works. So unfortunately for us, we stumble across an error, and sometimes it could be like that in a programmer's life, but we need to just find a way to debug it and find a way out. So some persons have been seeing a whole lot of codes in the chat room. Have been seeing a whole lot of fantastic drawings. Is not from any other person than Emedion herself. I think she has gone. She has been trying to figure things out by herself, trying maybe going online, or she is trying to run certain code as she has read the documentation. Please do not feel overwhelmed. We are still learning. Everybody is learning. I think some persons reacted or more like, what is going on here? Am I still in the same class that everybody is doing? Don't worry. As far as you are taking your things step by step, do not worry. We are going to go there. We are reaching there together. Do your assignment, your project. Those projects, those questions that I'm giving you, I'm telling you, it will help you a lot. The kind of questions I'm having, those questions are what they call it in the university standard kind of questions when it comes to interview questions. Each step of the way, you see those kind of questions, even though it may not be exact. But when you get there, you will see things like they'll tell you to, they might give you a particular code, they'll tell you to what to do. No, what something is missing in this code. I want you to fix it. I want you to do this. I want you to create something for me and the rest. So just try as possible, as much as possible, not to feel yourself overwhelmed. Just go through the questions and try and answer them. So I will go straight. I don't know if anybody has anything, any observation in the previous. I sent a code. Maybe the one that did not work for you in this other one, this one worked for you. What were your observations? Mr. Ko has said it out. Remember, we have 100 days, so we still have a lot of time to like get through things. So some persons want to rush it up. Is there anything, anybody that has any observation regarding the code I sent and the ones before? What did you see was the error? Debugging is part of programming. So what
Yeah.
did you see it was the
Hello,
error?
Mr. Kemini.
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Mark.
Okay. My own experience is that I realized that some online code editors worked, some others prompted some errors. So I don't know why that's
Okay,
because initially I was struggling to see that some editors were like complaining about some lines, but some others ran the code perfectly. I mean that was my own experience because I'm using
okay.
I don't really have access to a
Hydroid.
PC, so I use PyDroid. Then most times I'll try the online
Okay.
editors to see. I mean that's my own experience.
How
Let me
it
just put it
works.
that way.
Okay, okay. All right. There's no issue. That's nice one. So any other observation? Remember, I just want this class to be more of an interactive kind of session from now. We'll find a way to debug some things. We'll find a way to create some things by ourselves so that we get to understand this thing well into our system. Because it's not just giving you codes and you just go home. You don't understand what that code is doing. It will really, really frustrate you. So is any other observation so far in the last class that we lost it? We lost the code. We ran the code and it did not work for us. And when I send out that code to you, you checked it out, it worked for you. what did you observe? What was your observation as a programmer so far? You're not a Python programmer as it is, but different. Maybe it could be on a particular kind of level, but at least you understand a little bit of things. Did you go back to the code and compare? What was your observation? Please, I need that observation tonight. At least say something with what you observed. Thank you very much. Anything you observe? Any other person? Any other person? I'll just give maybe 4 or 5 seconds. If I don't see anybody raising hand, we can continue. Okay, no observations. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's try. And also, I really hope for Mr. Gabriel. How is the? I think you said you had issues over there when it comes to security issues. Hope everything is on point now regarding the war that is going on.
Well, we are hoping so. Today, some NATO forces arrived here in Berlin, so we are hoping it doesn't get worse by tomorrow. But we are fine. We are fine. It's just Russians are mad people. We are not sure what to expect from them, but we are okay. We are in God's hands.
All right, thank God. I've been chatting frequently with Dr. David and Esther. They said Esther is really complaining regarding her security and the rest. So right now she might not be able to attend, and she's in the Ukraine and she has not. I don't think she has seen food for the past few days now. So it's not easy over there and the rest. So it is well. So nevertheless, let's go straight to the business of tonight, and I'm going to explain the whole concept of screen resets, the Boolean kind of condition, and how we can put it in the parameter. Please take notes. I will explain the code. The code I sent to you is the one I'm going to explain tonight, and I may add some things to it. So if at any point, please, if at any point you do not understand this code, do not just blindly get code from the internet, and you must know what is exactly it is doing at that particular line. So I'll be sharing my screen soon so that you see what goes on at some point. So okay. So if you look at, let me set it to presentation mode. So this is the code we tried working on in the previous class. So first of all, if you're just joining us, I would like you to pay attention very carefully. So this is the Turtle project, and the Turtle is a graphics module in Python that we use to draw shapes, images, and try to make things more colorful for us. Initially, the Turtle project, the Turtle module is actually meant to teach kids, to introduce them to coding. For sure, we are kids here right now because looking at their level of understanding, we are still learning, and they are taking us as if we are beginners. So it's more of like a beginner kind of a project. So what we did here for sure was to import a turtle. You have to import it first. Once you import it, we said that this particular T, we are instantiating it to form an object. I told you that you will get to understand the concept of object-oriented programming as we go on in the process. So know that this is just an instantiation of a class turtle in brackets open and close. So once we form this object here, this is an object, and that object is inside a variable name called T. You could name it anything at some point, but I just used T for now. So what we did was that we used this, we instantiated it, and for sure, anytime you're working with a turtle, you must always use a main loop at the end. So any code that you are putting on should be in between this turtle.main loop. So this is more of like a kind of frame, that is just trying to cover up whatever you're doing should be inside a particular kind of frame. It should not go outside that particular frame. So if you don't do this, it might give you a whole lot of errors. So what I will do right now is that I started a project. I wanted to print, draw a particular shape, and that particular shape is known as the square. So how did I do that? I defined a function. And I call that function square. What is a function? A function is a specific kind of code that does a specific kind of task. So before I started the square, what I did was to reset the turtle dot. I call the turtle dot reset screen what this turtle.reset screen does is that anytime we run a code, anytime it will run a particular shape, before it gets to the next one, I want you to do what? Delete all the things that was in the previous one. So we define a function and we name that function reset, and we define it, and the only thing is going to do is to turtle.reset screen. Turtle.reset screen is an reset screen is an inbuilt package or function or method, a method itself in Python turtle that is called to reset the screen. So what we did next was to define a square. And once we define a square, we passed 3 parameters into it. And that was the t itself, the total objective which we defined. The d here is what we call the distance, and is always in pixels. In distance is always in pixels in the total. And is_reset is a Boolean kind of condition. We are putting this is_reset as a Boolean kind of condition. Is either it is false or it is true. And this particular one is for the screen, resetting here. Why are we using is underscore? Because we want the name to be more of like a descriptive kind of thing. So you know that it's actually meant to be what reset screen. But I've decided to just use is reset screen here. There's no problem, but I just wanted to just make it shorter. So I now define a docstring. What is a docstring? A docstring is more of like a description of what a particular function is doing. And it's what in triple quote. This one is already, so it could have given us an error already. So now, but nevertheless, it still worked for us at some point. So what happened is that this particular docstring must be in between, just like the main loop and the turtle here, import turtle. It must be in between these 3 quotes and these 3 quotes up and down. So it draws a square, parameters, this, and this. So this is more of like an information regarding this particular function. So what did we now do? We went to what? We went to start the main project itself by creating a square. So how do we create the square? We say that for I in range 4, okay, for I in range 4, it means that for every I, it must be in range 4. It must happen 4 times. It must happen 4 times. This I is an arbitrary kind of variable. It has already taken a value, and this value is t.rt and t.fd. These are the values of this particular word, of this particular I, t.rt and t.fd. And it must go 4 times. It must go 4 times. If this one was 5, it will go 5 times, which will definitely not work with what we wanted to do. So for I in range 4, that means for I, it means for this t.rt, t.fd, this t is the object in which we define already. The rt is a project, is a way we define the movement to turn right in the total library. So rt means to turn right, and what is the direction of the right is the 90 degrees direction. If you want to change it to 45 degrees, there is no problem. But looking at the nature of the shape you want to build, we need it to be 90 degrees. Now, the t.fd is to move it forward, to move it to a forward, maybe like move the distance in forward. And it's always given the value in pixels. For this d, the value will be given, it's going to be an integer value, but it's always given, it's always in a pixel kind of movement. So if you put it 100 here, it will move 100 pixels in the direction of forward. So now on line 15, this is what happened to us. This is where the whole incident happened. This is where we messed it up at some point. If the if statement is not inside this particular def statement, it's going to cause an error. For example, I decide to backspace this. If I decide to backspace, if you can see the top right of the screen, it said one error here. That means it's definitely going to cause an error because it is not in this particular function. If you can see, anytime that we create a particular function, it must have an indentation here that will actually do what? It means that this particular, anything that is happening here is inside this particular function. So if you do this, it's going to be outside the function, which is not part of what we want to do. So we take it back and press tab, and it will still be on the same line with this. Now, this is when we are calling a Boolean value. Boolean is always either it is false or it is true. So once we do that, at this point, I would like to pause. So I hope I'm talking to myself. And I hope you guys can hear me, because I don't trust this online stuff.
We can hear you.
Yeah,
We can hear you.
Okay. 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 Please mute yourself. Mute yourself. Okay. So now a conditional statement comes in. If is underscore reset, that means if any value that we put on line 5 here, the parameter is underscore reset, is equals true. That means this is more of like a comparison kind of operator. That means this is a comparison kind of stuff. Like, okay, if it is true, now if this is true, reset the screen. If this is true, you are now calling the function name of reset, which we define from on line 3. Now said, remember, how do we call a function? By calling the function name. And this particular function, since the function performs a specific task, and the specific task for the reset is what? To reset the screen. So that is why we now said, okay, here, if the value that you give here is true, that means you are going to reset the screen. Now look at what happened here. Now let's say we comment, we put this one as, let's put this one as, let's put this one as false. Let's put this one as false for now. Let me, and put this one as true. This one as true. I decide to comment this one out. I also decide to comment this one out. I decide to also comment this one out. Okay, so let me run this one first. Let me run this one first and see what it will give us. It means that if underscore reset is equals to is true, let's see how it goes. So the first thing we are now doing is to call the function name, which is square. You can see the function name is square. This is what we did. We passed the t, which is already defined as the total object. We passed the t here. And once the next thing was the distance, with the forward distance, we want the pixel movement. We want it to be 200. And we now create the reset this thing to be what? Is reset is true. Let's run this and see what it will give us. So you can see immediately it finished, it resetted this, it reset the screen. You can see what happened now. The screen is now blank. So it is working for us. It means that we have called the reset and it's working for us. So let's use false here. Let's decide to use false. Or let me just leave it. Let me go to the next one instead. And let me run this. This other one as you can see, the first one ran and it resets the screen. Now this one has finished running, but the screen has not been reset in any way. I don't know if it's resetted or reset, but I don't know English. Oh, that year. So you can see this screen has not reset in any way because it is set to be what? False. But if it was true, it's going to do what? Reset the screen. And it will, remember, when the reset screen is always showing as what? Forward. It's always coming in the forward kind of like arrow. It means that screen is reset. So at this point, I'll continue with the other one. So I uncomment this one and I do the same thing. So what happened here? I run here. So it stands. This one stands. You can see what happened here. So let me stop here. Let me change this one to false. I want us to see the whole concept of the whole thing. Okay. So you can see now the last two are false. And this was the first one that ran. This is the second one that came up and ran. But because we did not reset the screen, the two still stands by and continue running. That's what just happened here. Now, something happens here. Let me try to control /. Now, this other one, oh good. This has come again. Control /. So, and look at what happened here. Guys, I know you might, at some point, you might not understand this code. So what happened was, actually, I wanted to try to make a more of like a for loop kind of scenario. What I did here was, look at, it's almost the same thing as this for I in range this. And you can see, I don't know, I want us to see something here. I want us to see something here. This for loop is on the same line, with this def statement. Guys, check it out. This for loop, this first FOR is on the same line with this def statement. I don't know if you are seeing any difference here. Please mute yourself wherever you are. Mute yourself. Thank you. Oh, Mr. Baba, sorry. Once you raise your hand and I don't answer, please know that I was actually on my screen. I did not see yours. This thing. So, Mr. Baba, please, you can ask your question. Sorry about that. I did not come to the screen to see. Please ask your question, Mr. Baba Ibrahim. Mr. Baba, are you here? Your hand is raised. Sorry, I did not see.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Yes, my question is, I can't see the screen while you are doing correcting the calls.
Okay, I don't know if are you guys having the same issues, please, apart from him? Can you see my screen?
No.
Yes, I can see your screen.
I can see your screen.
Everybody can see my screen. Mr. Baba Ibrahim, I believe you could actually log out and come in again. I think it could be your network issue. Or okay. Which device are you using? Are you using your system to log in for this class?
Yes, I'm using my system.
You should see my screen. Definitely you should see my screen. And it's very important that you see my screen.
Yeah. Okay, let me just work out and log in again.
Okay, please. And when you come in and you can't still see my screen, please let me know. It's very important that you do not miss it out. Okay? All right, guys. Sorry for that. I need to clarify that for Mr. Baba Ibrahim. And let me look at the time that we have. Okay, we still have at least a little. So you can see what I'm doing here. At this particular point, I'm resetting this screen. I'll call the reset function here. And once I call the reset function here, the same thing I did inside this particular def statement is what I want to do, but a different kind of thing here. So what am I doing here is for I in range, what? 1 to what? This 1,11 means from 1 to 10. From 1 to 10. Because this 11 does not take part in the range. The last element does not take part in the range when it comes to things like 1, this. If you want it to be 10, you can use 1, 11. If you want it to be 12, you can use 1, 13. The 13 won't be involved. So what I did was that now that this value, I call the square function here. The square function is to do what? Is to move this particular thing to what? To move it in a for loop in a range of what? In a range 4, and it should do turn right 90 degrees and this D, which is going to be called upon here. So what I did here was that this T, I put in the T normally as we have instantiated the class, and this value for D, the value for the distance already for our square function, which we have defined as a parameter, is now saying that anytime that we have this particular I, the value for I, we are going to multiply it by what? 20. We are going to do it 20 times. We're going to do it 20 times. So any value that we have for I, we're going to increase it times 20. That means once it is Once it goes, this particular one text I is going to go what for what 20 times until it gets to what your 11 kind of range. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but let me just run it so that we'll understand the whole concept here. Let me just run, and we are setting the screen to false. We are setting the screen to what? False. So any value of I that we have, we are going to increase it what times what? 20. Let me just run the code. If you don't understand, you can ask me what is going on. So I run it here. Okay. So I don't know if you understand what is going on right now. Who doesn't understand the whole concept of the loop, the what I just did now? Or let's try instead of 20, let's try 10. Let's see what it will give us. Let's see the whole concept of it. So what do you understand by what is going on right now? Is there anyone that has an understanding of what we want to do right now or what we are doing? Let me go to the group. Anybody? Okay. What happened now? Like confidently and explain what just happened. Or are we lost?
I'm not lost.
Okay. You want to say something, Mr. Solomon?
Well, I just want to attempt to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please, can you share your screen again?
Yes,
I think from what I can see here.
Okay.
Now, in the range of 1 to 10, what it means is, please correct me when I'm wrong. I'm speaking from a background of inexperience. Now, which means there will be 10 squares because it was ranged or it was fixed at 1 to 10. There will be 10 squares. Now, the second function you just define, square bracket t, I multiplied by 10. What it means is each of the squares will be multiplied by a dimension of 2, 3, 4, 5 by a factor like an increment of 1, 1, 1. What I mean is this: if the very first square has an area of, let's just say, 2 centimeters square, the second square would have an area of 4 centimeters square. The
Fantastic.
third would have, yes, I think that's what I think, though I'm not sure.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. It is exactly. Is there anyone that wants to say something else? Okay. Anyone that wants to
Hello,
add
good
something?
evening.
Yes,
Hello?
good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes, let's
Okay,
Mr. Sunday
you.
go first.
So I think the range talk about the number of squares that will be produced.
Mm-hmm.
Then the multiplication is an increment, the size of this square. Like if we multiply by, let's assume we multiply by 40, the size of each of the square increase more. Really, the range is telling us the number of squares that we get. Like the number of times it should like loop. So it should go up to like from 1 to 10. Then the multiplication, because even though if you don't put that multiplication times I, it will still do. Because I did it, like if we remove that times I, it will do, but it will show like very small. It will just be doing like, but we will not really see it.
Okay, very good.
But if we multiply it, it increases the size.
Okay, good. Okay. Any other person that wants to try? Mr. Fonobon.
Okay, can you just share your screen?
Okay, I'm with.
Mr. Shaibu is right about the range, being 1 to 10 and all. So the square parenthesis, I think that 10 is the distance in pixels you get.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's the distance. So if you increase it to maybe 100 or thereabout, the distance of as in the length of one of those squares would increase.
By default. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
and invariably all the squares will increase as well. So I think it's just the distance in
Okay. Good.
pixels. Yeah.
Good. 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 Fantastic. Fantastic. Mr. Manuel Amodu, I think I saw your hand. Your hand is still up. Oh, I think at this point we have to mute you, Mr. Manuel. We can't hear you. No. Mr. Manuel, your network is poor, so I'm sorry we cannot take that. Sorry. I'm really sorry about that. So at this point, let's go there. Let's go to the exactly with what people have said now. I believe you're in the right class at the right time because
I have a question.
your mind is actually okay. Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Udrak is okay, but ask your question.
Okay. I think this requires a little bit of mathematical insight. Now we have all agreed. We have all agreed
Yes.
that the range between 1 to 10 means we're going to be having 10 square boxes. Good.
Yes.
Now, for the second function, the square bracket ti multiplied by 10, what is its role that from the very beginning, the first square is smaller than the second
Mm-hmm.
is smaller than the
It
third,
increased.
the third is smaller than the, yes. Now, yes, and what is also guiding
bigger.
the increment? Yes, it's bigger, getting
Yes,
bigger. What is
yes.
also guiding that increment? Is it the 10 that is making it increase that way, or what precisely? That's my question.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, okay. And we are going to do it practically here. We'll see how the difference between this and that. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of hands up. Mr. Udrak, your
Sorry.
hand. Mr. Udrak's hand is up first, I think. Mr. Udrak, are
Hello.
you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Mr. Udrak's hand was up first. I saw his hand first.
Okay, just like Mr. Shaibu has said, I tried putting in 100 in that place. That's I times 100. And
Yes.
the number of squares did not change, but then the size was what changed.
Yes.
The size, because the range is from 1 to 11 or 1 to 10, like you guys have said, but then the size is what changed. Even if you put 50, it's the size that will change, not the number. So the range remains the same, but the size keep changing.
Okay, that's exactly how it's supposed to be. So what we are doing right now is we are trying to, the range is the number of chefs, the number of what do you call it? The square that we want to use. Yes, because
Still
it is in a range. Yes, okay, it's in a range. Okay, Mr. Kweme, after that,
Yes.
Mr. Tosin.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Like
Yes,
Dr.
good evening,
Shaibu
sir.
and the last speaker, said, the I multiplied by 10 is to increase the
shape
next
of
square, by magnitude of 10. So that
or
the next
depending
square
on the one you
becomes
give.
larger by magnitude of 10 than the previous one till we get to the 10 squares.
Very good. So
That's
okay,
what
now yes, thank you very much. Exactly that's how it is.
Wow.
So you can mute yourself. Let's
beautiful.
Yes,
Beautiful.
let's experiment all those things right now. Let's experiment all those things right now practically here, and let's see how it's going to work for us. So at this point, I would like to go back to my screen. Mr. Oka, I'll get back to you. Or you want to say something now?
No, I have a question.
Okay.
I want to ask because I understand that the I time is whatever number. It means with each square, it's the dimension increases times 10.
Yes.
But what my question is, yes.
What's your question?
My question is, how do we know the starting dimension for the I?
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's do something like this. So at this point, let me mute this because I can't hear him again. So let's do something like this. Let's do something like this. So the first one, first of all, let's change this from 10 to let's say 40. Let's use 40 and let's run this. So you see the increase. So you can see it's a bigger kind of square because each one is times what is times 40 of the previous one. Now I go back, that's the first incidence of trying to check it out. Now, instead of this 40, I decide not to put anything at all. I decide not to put anything at all. Okay, so let's see how it goes. Now you can see what is going on right now. You can see the pixel, the distance of how it is at this particular point. So we see how small it is, but it has looked through 10, it has looked through 4 what particular kind of what square. Okay, so that's the one. I think that's the distance for one. That's the distance for one. I think that's the first one for one. So let's see. The next one I want to do again is which other one? Which other one did someone explain? Did someone ask? Let's change this to let's say we want to use 6, and let's change this to let's say times let's say times 30. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, all right. Okay, so at this particular point, I will start answering your questions one after the other. Now, the first, I think Mr. Oko asked the question, and the question is, where does it get the first distance? Where does it get the first movement? What's the distance itself, right? I think that was the question you asked. Mr. Oko, are you still with us? Hello, Mr. Oko. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I'm still with you. That's the question I asked.
Now I will start by looking at this. If you look at this particular one, the square here, remember, yes, we call that a square function in which we have defined it already before. And this particular square was to do what? For I in range 4. It means it was supposed to move in this particular direction. It is supposed to turn right in 90 degrees first, and also turn to the distance which you are going to give as an integer, which is the I, which is the D itself. Now you have called out this function. And once you call out this function, which is square, that has this kind of, what they call it, method to perform in this function, what do we do here is, we now call out the square, we put in the T, which we have defined already, T, here, D and R is reset. Once we call this out already, we now said, for I in range 1, 6, it means that the default one is going to get is 1. It means that the default one is going to get is 1. So any value, for example, if there was no 30 here, if there was no 30, the default value is going to get is 1 to me, the way I'm seeing it right now. But if you times it by 30, the default one, it may just like say 1 times this, 1 times 30, this. Once you get that value, it increases again times 30, times 30, times 30, times 30. So the very first default thing, if you can see what we did here, immediately we did this particular one, it takes the value for what? For 1, and it ran it that way. We can see how it run here. It was not making a whole lot of sense here. It was revolving still on that particular kind of distance. It increases just by 1, by 1, by 1. So that is the whole concept of it. So let's times what again? Times 30. We run it again. Is increasing by times 30. And it's taking how many square? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I don't know if there's any other question at this particular point. If I did not answer all your questions, please let me know, and let's see how we can find a way out. Okay. Okay, Mr. Kweyemi, your hand is up. Mr. Tosin, your hand is up.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
What I have is not a question per se, it's actually a comment.
Okay, sir.
Please, can you share your screen so that I can show something?
Okay.
Okay. Please go or scroll up.
Okay.
Yes, it's okay. So while I was playing around with the code on my own,
okay,
I realized that what we did for distance, which is D, we could actually do it for angle. Instead of putting 90, we can put maybe represent something with angle like A, and then we define it when we call out.
Yes, when we call it out.
When we call out the function. So we'll just include square bracket T, comma, then the angle, which is the A. We'll put it.
Let's do it.
Hello.
Okay. I put A here now. What next? Yes. Now I want you to exactly what you are doing. I want to do it here so that we can see it practically here.
Yes.
So I put A here. Yes. What next?
Yes. In this, okay, you have to in this square open bracket T, after T, comma, you put the value of the A, which is 90, before you now run it.
Where?
After the T.
After the T, I should put what?
Yes.
Yeah,
after
right
the T,
here, right?
put 90 for the value of A. No. T, comma, then 90, comma, before the I times 30.
Okay.
Yes.
T, comma.
90.
90.
Yes, 90.
Comma.
Yes, which is the angle, which represents the angle. Yes. Yes. If you run it now, you will see that it will still run.
Okay, let's see. It's taking an error because I was very sure of it.
It's not in my own when I did it.
Square text 3 positional. The error, the square is saying text 3 positional arguments, but 4 were given. Understand?
If it had run, I would have asked Ms. Dr. Fatula to explain how it's possible for it to run. When the original definition of that function was 3, why is this one 4?
Yes.
Let me tell you why it's not running.
I love this session. I love this session. Now let's. Okay.
Scroll up. Please scroll up.
Okay, sir.
Okay, go to define square and add A to it. You will see
that
that
is what we are
saying
now. Yes. So it is 4, then 4, 4.
If you are representing,
but you did not tell us that.
So. To that define square.
You
have to define it now. You have to add it to the parameters you are defining.
Please calm down.
You want it to bring out.
Okay. Let's go back to let me go back to my code.
Hello, Mr. Kemini.
Yes, sir.
I think it can still run by putting that A in our function.
As part of the parameter.
Yes, if you put it as part of the parameter, it will definitely run because you are defining it already now.
Exactly.
Which is my point.
It will run if you define it from the beginning.
From the beginning.
Yes.
Yes. So yes, I love the fact that you understand what is actually going on. I love it. That's good. That's fantastic already. So let's go back to okay. Where am I going to? This thing is not showing me. Exit fools. Okay, exit. Okay. I don't know. I think I have it back here. So Okay, I don't know if everybody understands what the concept of reset and everything now. I think this has been clarified. I don't know if someone is still having issues understanding it. So let's know now. I just wanted to come back and clarify this particular concept. At this point, Mr. Gabriel, you said you don't understand the concept of Boolean. Do you get the whole concept now?
Yes, I do. I get it now.
Okay, thank God. That's fantastic. At any point, any questions right now regarding what you have done so far? Because in the next class, we're supposed to have handled how to get to polygon, how to get to draw star, circles, and different add colors to it. You have seen people already adding colors to their own at some point. Well done for trying new things out there. Well done. You're doing fantastic work over there. I saw some quality things over here. I was like, guy, you guys are really going further. I like that. Well done. So I don't know if there's any question so far. If you do not understand any concept so far, please let me know now. Let me know now, because at this point, this is our first project. It will get tougher. It will definitely get tougher. So if you don't understand a particular concept, it might not be now. It might not be with this class right now. You can actually say, okay, in the previous classes, I've been missing a particular concept. Please bring me back to that concept. I need you to understand it, because this is like, if you don't get this concept, if you get to this other one, you'll miss it out. So let me know now. Any questions? Okay. I think we are good to go. Everybody is good to go now. I think everything has been sorted out. Mr. Dwak, do you have any question? Mr. Fonobo, Mr. Solomon, Mr. Emmanuel Amodu, any questions?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, good. So let's just try. At some point, I want you to use the same thing that we have done now. Maybe you can actually try out to make a polygon. Try to make a polygon on maybe a polygon that has 6 sides, or anyhow. I think that will be the next class. We'll do a polygon. We'll also try to do a circle, and we'll get set to submit our assignments. I'm trying as much as possible to make sure that everyone gets to understand the whole concept of the class. So at this point, if there's any suggestion, some persons have started dropping out of this class, and at this particular point, if you are here, it means that you are getting it and you are determined to finish this course. It is not everyone that will finish the course. I'm very sure of that. But if you're, for the fact that you're here, it means you are still pushing on. And very soon, at this particular project phase, this is when the squid will actually begin, because once you do not submit your project, I will definitely not send you a mail that you'll be able to join the next phase of class. So please try as much as possible. That's why I'm trying to make sure that this class you understand what the whole concept you're missing. If you miss a concept, please get back to me and let me clarify it. I want us to be better programmers. We'll get to debug. This one is just the first debugging session. There will be a time as I'm even coding, I'm even myself, I'll get hooked somewhere. I have to search Google and check how can we solve this? How can we make it work for us? So it is more of like a practical kind of something. Now we saw tonight that when you put in 3 arguments, when you put in 3 parameters, and you want to call out a function, you put 4, it will definitely cause an error. So these are practical things in which we are seeing for ourselves by ourselves, and we are understanding it. Remember, it's 100 days. You can actually learn and learn and learn. You can always reach out to me at a particular point. I will always answer you. I don't know and also, if there's any way we can improve our class, if there's anything I'm not doing well, please let me know. I'm